Without further ado, though, it's time to bring you the final set of the day, and it's time to go over to our daddy-daughter cast team.
What?
All right. All right.
I mean,
Just let's leave it.
Really?
Dignitas taking on Sanguine here.
because we're brown?
That's what we're going to talk about. Is taking Sanguine, not that guy who doesn't know where he's walking. He just walked back and forth like 3 times. It was great. Sanguine, Dignitas, one team on the top of the league, the other not so hot. Sanguine has had some issues throughout the course of the season. We'll head into picks and bans and see which direction they go to. As Sanguine look up at the top card, Dignitas, where do you want to see them go in the picks and bans?
I would really like to see Sanguine try and look to take away comfort pigs. Obviously, first of all, you can see they're going ahead and eliminating that Susano. We don't want that as a potent threat.
Yeah.
And Dignitas responding right away with the Zeus. Just don't want to give Sanguine any AoE control. But I think the most important thing that Sanguine could look for is not necessarily any of these flashy picks that we've seen them try and make work before. Cough, cough, Geb Jungle. But
No
I want to see them look for more team-oriented fighting compositions. They need to just do picks that can play off of each other and play off of each other very easily and very well, because this team is still trying to develop a lot of their synergy right now. And so that's probably the most important part more than anything.
I would have actually liked to see Hunbats. Honestly, if you're going to first pick the Fafnir, I would have liked to see the first pick Hunbats for MikeTheMagikarp. That I think is one of Mike's better characters and fits with exactly what you were talking about, more the team-oriented dynamic. So not going to be the case here as Fafnir is locked in first. Serqet and Poseidon. Poseidon will be the mid laner most likely for Team Dignitas. And Serqet shows up nice and early, so Sanguine know that they shouldn't go any hard healing direction.
Serqet Poseidon also, that's a lot of burst potential that's coming out already, and individual burst potential at that. Serqet's definitely something that we're going to see, probably looking to get those sneaky picks off into the back line. I like the Vulcan Awilix combination. That's exactly what we were just talking about, where you just want to get that synchronization with your abilities and make it as easy as possible for your team to really get the ball rolling early on.
Sylvanus locked in is likely the Guardian for Team Dignitas, and Awilix is a character that I have seen Mike do rather well on. It's not as tried and true, I think, as his Hunbats, but Awilix can certainly provide a lot of what Sanguine need out of the jungle. And like you said, this is what Sanguine need to do. I said it before when I was talking about the Geb jungle, was that, all right, the Geb jungle, it's a spicy pick, it's a flavor. You've got some sort of way to make it work, but you got to learn the rules before you break the rules. I really strongly believe that in almost every aspect of life. And so specifically here, do the old school combo. Vulcan Awilix, it's as old as anything else. Nail that before you do something weird.
And we can see the Cupid coming through. That's another tried and true pick, which is going to help out and benefit this Awilix, in my opinion, because of the fact that Awilix already has a bit of a benefit, considering that she can feather step the Sylvanus ultimate. She's actually really strong at sticking onto that god and punishing him should he get out of position. She can lock down the Serqet if need be into Vulcan, but the Cupid is really going to be, I think, a shining factor if this goes well for Sanguine, because that cripple can come through huge into these Vulcan ultimates.
Look at Serqet. All of her whole thing is movement abilities.
Yeah.
Cupid's going to shut that down 100%. Love the selection. That, of course, will be Nika, the captain, piloting Cupid. Love that. The Osiris, though, something a little bit new that we don't really get to see. Sanguine, there's their flash. How do you feel about this Osiris pick as we get into game?
The only thing about Osiris is that he can be a bit awkward because of the fact that he's one of those characters where you expect Osiris to come through if you're expecting a slap boxing competition. Sure. All he's really looking to do is just poke out, poke out, poke out. So I feel like this is more so Axioz picking out of comfort because he's subbing in for this game, more so than what it is Axioz picking this because he thinks that it'll be like the best possible option to come through here. Because Osiris is just kind of awkward coming through, and especially since he's going to be facing up against Variety on that Ymir, I feel like the Osiris could actually struggle a bit since he's so auto-attack based. It'll be really hard for him to get into that wave, and you can see already some early aggression coming out, but MikeTheMagikarp coming out on top for that.
Yeah, that was not the move that I figured would come out. Nika gets his beads burned early, but Arkkyl, he's going to have his life burned early. Down he goes.
And the meditation.
Nika with the credit. Gets the first blood nice and early, and like you said, grab some meditation as well.
That meditation just came through so clutch, really well executed by DeathPanter, cutting off and kiting those auto attacks, which is what they really needed there to get that ball rolling.
So with Dark Dodo sitting out, we've got Axioz here. We've seen Axioz play a handful of times across the league. What's your take on this guy?
I think that Axioz, when he was in the competition, he performed well enough and he was consistent on his team. But at the same time, it could be really difficult for him to come into this roster on Sanguine and try and make something work out of nothing, considering that this team's had a bit of synergy issues to begin with. And so when you're combining all these opposing factors, I mean, he could either be the make it or break it point, but he won't necessarily, I don't think all the pressure should be falling onto him as much as what I think a lot of it is.
Nika took a lot of the damage there as he walked into the So Beautiful coming out from Arkkyl. Not a good look at the moment for the long lane out of Sanguine, despite the fact they picked up the first blood. But don't forget, level 2, maybe not right now, but level 3, definitely at level 4, Nika will have some sort of sustain by way of the hearts.
Yeah, and the other thing, too, about Nika on that Cupid, even though he secured the first blood, I would still have to credit lane pressure to fall the way of Apollo Sylvanus every single time. That was more so just Arkkyl kind of messing up and not paying attention than what I think it was getting purely outplayed. But at the same time, you can see they're going ahead and invading that purple buff, which is pretty unfortunate
Even
considering.
looking for the buff.
Yeah.
Very odd. Usually we see, but it does get stolen away by the guys on Team Dignitas, so Sanguine can't even look at it. It's one of those situations where you always see those characters go for the small 2 ogres next to the big buff, but very rarely do you see them go for the big buff. Why do you think Dig went for the purple?
They knew that they could secure it. Nika's already still so pushed out. He's just now getting his hearts where he's able to sustain himself to that 70% point, and it's just really hard for Sanguine to really try and prevent that invade from coming through. If anything, they would have needed MikeTheMagikarp to rotate a little bit earlier, but unfortunately he's stuck in that mid lane trying to help out the mid with all the farm and everything, and so it's just an unlucky situation all around.
Mike shows up, steals some farm, and walks away, so Nika not getting much help. Oh, the taunt, one shot's gonna hit. Axioz gets ulted, likely to fall, definitely gonna fall here. QvoFred gets credit for the kill. Nice little solo gank coming out there. Variety has had pressure in this lane pretty much the entire time, but Cuvo able to find a space.
And you can see Variety even baiting it out there for a little bit, going ahead, eating up some of those auto attacks, taking the poke, and Axioz he's starting to feel himself with that, and went ahead and kept engaging, not realizing that it's only because Cuvo was coming right around that corner.
Variety is very good at playing all aspects of the solo lane, and the mind games portion definitely not lost. The fact that he's on one of his signature characters here, the Ymir, I think when you say signature Variety, you're looking at both Ymir and Tyr.
Yeah.
And Ymir certainly, I mean, I almost like him more on the Ymir than the Tyr, to be honest with you. He just finds these crafty plays in the jungle via the wall and sometimes a stun that creates an interesting situation that the enemy team has to fight into.
I'm just waiting for the Thanatos to make a comeback, honestly. I mean, it's been a while. It has been a hot minute, but he's just been having so much fun escapading with Tyr all the time because teams, I mean, you can't really ban Tyr, you can't really ban Ymir.
That's true.
And Variety's just been having the time of his life because of it.
Exactly. So, I mean, it's if you're going to give him his favorite every game, what is he going to say? No, thank you? No, I'm sorry? So he's absolutely going to take it. I'm happy not seeing Thanatos in the solo lane. It works. It's just not one of my favorites, put it that way.
I thought Thanatos was one of your favorites.
In the jungle. Because then he can rotate the map and be useful all over instead of being relegated to a single side of the map and only being able to use his execute in a certain part of the game. I prefer him elsewhere. I do understand that he works, but I'm allowed to dislike things that work. Okay?
Fair enough. Fair enough. You know, we can all dislike certain things.
Yeah.
So
what's your put it this way? What's your least favorite viable character in Smite right now?
In Smite right now?
Yeah.
Hands down, probably Cupid.
Cupid? But he's so good. Look at him do his thing over here.
Cupid's just so annoying. He's like small, his voice pack is weird, he looks creepy as hell with this skin.
There's a lot familiar with Cupid and you, just putting that out there. Big pull of Variety out of the jungle. MikeTheMagikarp going to show up, and here's help from DeathPanter. Transformation doesn't even need to be done. MikeTheMagikarp picks up the kill. It's the second for Sanguine. DeathPanter looking for number 2 as he jumps on Cuvo, dash away, and that'll be that. 2-1 read the kills, and it's 5 5:16 on the clock.
That dash away, barely getting Cuvo out of danger, too, from the Awilix thing. And that look on your face, I haven't forgotten what you said in the slightest. I am not relatable to Cupid.
You are basically Cupid. You're small, you're annoying, your voice pack's kind of weird. It's just like Cupid.
They don't. Twitch not supposed to know about that yet. All right, way to spoil. F dot.
I just meant what you sound like in the day-to-day. That's what I'm putting out there.
And you can see Nika
looking for the solo.
He wants it so bad.
Another thing, you're always looking for the solo kill. Not going to find it here. Nika drops the ult, walks away. Also, that cripple works against the Apollo as well. Not going to be able to find the dash, but, I mean, if you ult him under his tower, he's kind of relatively safe as is. Not going to have the help should Nika get ganked. But the rotation not coming all the way to the solo lane, just going to those oracles.
Also, you can see Arkkyl opted to build Devo's first item, so him going for the Devo's rush opens him up a little bit more to this Cupid engage.
Yep.
Cupid's just going to try and pressure him out as much as possible with that ultimate, especially since he already has the boots online. He'll be probably looking to finish off that Transcendent second. That's pretty standard Cupid build coming through. And it'll be really tricky for Arkkyl to play around this early on because his ultimate isn't... It's a strong ultimate by all means. Apollo's great for escaping certain situations, but the burst potential that can come out on the side of Cupid is definitely more than enough to take out Arkkyl if he's not careful with it.
Arkkyl can get out of damage from the ultimate. Beautiful jump by Axioz here. Variety likely going to eat it again. Here's a slow and one more shot. Axioz gets the better of Variety. That'll be another kill coming out from Axioz. Gets help from the jungler, so can't quite say soloed, but I'm sure people will say it anyway. Axioz versus Variety, the substitute, who Axioz had an interesting stint on an Ataraxia team once upon a time. Not the greatest player, at least from his performance then, but he's getting the better of Variety here in the solo lane. Quite an upturn, huh?
I think it's also just been really strong play by MikeTheMagikarp. Trixtank looking to be in a bit of trouble. I mean, you can see Mike here coming through with the ultimate on Awilix. Featherstep gonna go through, and he can't even get his ultimate. Like, it's just no chance whatsoever. He's just down and out for the count, and there's no utilization of it whatsoever.
Yeah, Trix kind of gets stuck, walking a little bit too forward into Sanguine's dungeon. I think Team Dignitas, they're getting a little bit of ahead of themselves here in every position except for the duo lane. Arkkyl is playing this one relatively safe, whereas Variety's being very aggressive. Even in the mid lane, Mr. Stefan and Zyrhoes have been relatively quiet, but the jungle that we usually see mid lanes rotate to is kind of being dominated by Sanguine at the moment.
Yeah, and it's like I was saying, with MikeTheMagikarp placing so much emphasis onto the solo lane, really getting to punish the Ymir pick and help out Axioz a lot. Because otherwise, that would probably be a really stale solo lane coming through with just an Ymir facing off against Osiris. What else is Neo? But Variety, you can see, as soon as he's given any time on his own, he's just right there invading. Unfortunate for Axioz to get that blue buff taken away from him.
Yeah, and just a really rough situation when it comes down to the type of character that Axioz is. Really needs all those cycles to do what he can to the lane. MikeTheMagikarp.
Yeah.
Looking for the gank here, but playing it safe. Arkkyl not willing to take the bait just yet as Mike is standing. Whose ward is that? Oh, it's going to be his own ward.
That's a dig ward.
Yeah?
Yeah. He caught sight of him. He knew he was there.
Yeah. So he's just sitting there. He caught sight of Mike as he came out from the top. You can see Cuvo on top of the Dignitas ward. So Arkkyl was just sitting there. I know you're coming. I know you're going to come and try to ruin my Christmas. So just stay over there, and maybe I'll show up. Mike now going to meet up with QvoFred as Cuvo's made the rotation, but everybody's being seen on the ward, so it's pretty much ado about nothing. Sanguine go ahead and go for the oracles, and they'll get the vision 4-1 just before the fire giant spawns here. Sanguine with a relatively slow-paced game, but it's working in their favor. Things going relatively well for Sanguine compared to how we've seen them earlier on in the season.
Yeah, this is something that I hope that they keep applying a little bit more pressure. Axioz is in a bit of a rough situation here, and he's going to go ahead and fall down to the gank by Cuvo. Let himself get a little bit too poked out there by Variety, not really paying attention to how much damage exactly that 2 is doing. With the Pen Boots online and a Mark of the Vanguard, he's tanking a lot of damage, and he's also dishing it out as well. And for Axioz to allow himself to get that poked out, it's going to be pretty rough for Sanguine because you don't want to open up that side of map pressure, especially when MikeTheMagikarp has been placing so much emphasis on trying to keep him just even in the lane.
Early in the build, we're going to see the Frostbound Hammer coming out from Axioz, which is an item that we just haven't seen much of. I think we saw it once last week, and prior to that, it's been multiple splits, I think. Heavy Hammer got changed, and that's why we saw sort of a walk away from it. But Axioz walking towards it. Sanguine walking towards the Gold Fury, quickly leashed out as Team Dignitas show up. You can see as soon as Arkkyl took to the sky, that's when Sanguine is going to walk away from that objective. They get the Apollo ult, and that's going to be a good look for Sanguine.
Yeah, you don't want to go and try to make any kind of fight happen when you've got that Apollo ultimate going off in the sky. Not to mention that the rest of Team Dignitas was already aware, and they were starting to make the rotation over, which could be pretty rough, because if Sanguine had chosen to try and engage that, sure, very good likelihood they could have taken it, because they do have the Vulcan and turret and ultimate from Vulcan's very strong secure. But at the same time, do you really want to risk wiping in a team fight and then potentially losing your T1 tower and then getting nowhere off of that but behind? Or, you just want to fall back at that point in time.
It's the risk versus reward. Right now, it's a tie game for all intents and purposes, but Sanguine leading by, half thousand, that's Sanguine, you're feeling good, that you haven't done anything really egregious against what could be the #1 team this year, so definitely don't want to make that throw. That's a throw, 100%. Where all right, guys, we're doing well. We're treading water here. When we just give the enemy the Gold Fury, I think we're going to see Sanguine, especially considering who their opponent is, be more safe than not here.
Dignitas still being regarded as an EU powerhouse, even after splitting with Elevate on Thursday. It's still essential for Sanguine to not just go ahead and roll over dead in these scenarios. You can see Variety picking up that T1 tower and looking for the potential fight. DeathPanter going to go ahead and ult away into turret.
Oh, there's the ultimate over the top. Variety gets taken out. Axioz gets credit for the kill, but it all belongs to Mr. Stefan. That rotation probably should have come a little bit sooner, but better late than never. Down goes Variety. Good play coming out from Mikey. Zero's going to be in trouble here. One more basic does it, and the jungler hops away. Great game from MikeTheMagikarp. What a turnaround from what we've seen him do earlier on in the season.
This is a character that he is leaps and bounds more comfortable on, and it's really showing in his gameplay. His confidence is there. Nika is looking to pick up Trixtank, and he's on the run.
And DeathPanter hops over the wall, finds a little bit onto Trix, but not enough to really secure it. Oracles will be 5-man shared by Sanguine here. Gold Fury started, but not really even thought about as QvoFred shows up, gets taunted, gets controlled, but there's a jump forward. Sanguine want to fight this 2-on-4. Ultimate out of Variety, he'll be the third, but Team Dignitas still on the good side. Axioz takes out one after Trixtank finds the kill onto Mr. Stefan. It's 1-1. What an interesting play coming out from Dig. Variety battling 1 versus 3. Now here's number 4. Ymir falls down for the count as well. Sanguine, that Dignitas was very aggressive.
Dignitas really wanted that engagement for some reason. I think it's because they figured that Sanguine was going to potentially look to go for that early Gold Fury, because they just secured a pick, and typically that's a point in time where you want to look for an objective. But Sanguine, recognizing that they were too low health and backing off immediately, very, very smart decision making. They baited Team Dignitas into their side of the jungle, where they just split them up. You saw Trixtank had to go running back towards that Gold Fury side, but Variety was already way too committed, way too deep into the jungle of Sanguine, and just falls down easily at the red buff to 3 people surrounding him.
So ultimately, Team Dignitas get what they want, and they stop the Gold Fury coming out. I think it's very obvious that I thought that was a poor play. Does that actually wind up being a positive, despite the fact that Team Dig lose a couple of players?
It's not much of a positive, considering the fact that even though you're preventing a little bit of gold going the way of the enemy team, you're still falling behind in experience. And at this point in time, experience is what matters. So
sort of net neutral. Trixtank jumps forward as he gets the ultimate out. And Panther will just walk away.
Vulcan ultimate at the expense of Poseidon, Aegis, and Sylvanus. I'd say that's a very happy trade that Sanguine will make any day of the week.
Still on top. Sanguine right now leading by a hair underneath 1,000. 8-5 is really the story of the game here. Sanguine have just had Team Dignitas' number, most notably on Variety, on his signature Ymir. MikeTheMagikarp has really been able to make this pressure happen in the solo lane.
They are not giving Variety any breathing room whatsoever, and even though Variety is known for this Ymir pick, at the same time, it is very punishable because of its lack of mobility, and Nika going ahead. Arkkyl, where'd you go?
That's one of the beautiful things about Cupid that doesn't really get spoken about, is the fact that his dad dash is the size of a football field. I mean, it's American football field, excuse me. I mean, it's longer than Agni Dash. It's almost double the size of an Apollo Dash. It just covers so much ground, and it's relatively quick that Nika was sitting there just quietly firing basics at the. All of a sudden, he's in your face. And there's a fire. There's a heart bomb is the word I'm looking for. I am not having the best of days, but my point is the fact that the Cupid sort of comes out of nowhere, everybody jumps on top, and Arkkyl looked like he was just going to sit there and then throw So Beautiful and then walk back to lane as the enemy takes the Gold Fury. But instead, he gets surprise collapsed on, and a lot of that has to do with, I think, the quickness that Nika's dash comes through with.
And you see, like, the Transcendence definitely paying off right then and there. With the Ickfall, opting for that Ickfall, I think, is a really strong power spike for the Cupid, because Cupid isn't necessarily one of those characters that is known for being a hunter that you want to build AA base, but after his buff came through to where he now gets a little bit more attack speed as you're leveling up this 3,
right.
it actually makes it way more viable to go ahead and pick up at least 1 or 2 attack speed based items. And you can see Arkkyl taking the wrong side of that trade there, already poked down to half health, returning to the lane.
Yeah, it's one of the things that I actually like on Cupid is he's very obviously a ability-based hunter. I mean, earlier we saw Neath Paria 12 on Energy, the sub for Yaman. We saw him build a Jotuns on the Neath, and I like that. I usually see that direction with Cupid as well, like you were saying, but the Ickfall just also helps to passive. Cupid really wants to be able to build up that passive to ensure that he gets to stun. DeathPanter gets stunned out on the backside as his team starts with the Portal Demon. Trixtank now going to be controlled by Axioz, still sticking to him. Wants to get the stun, but it's just a zone. As the rest of the team is working on the Portal Demon, half HP right now. Team Dignitas trying to respond. There's the shell as the inevitable initiation comes. Trixtank pops the ultimate. Portal goes the way of Sanguine, but DeathPanter in some trouble transforms. All grouped up, but they're behind a wall, so no follow-up. Jumps forward on Trix. Bang! Mr. Stefan with a shotgun takes out Trix. Still chasing down Zyrhoes, looking for the stun. Gets it! And here comes MikeTheMagikarp, just going to toss out some help. DeathPanter tosses out the med. And that be that. Big wall separating the support, but DeathPanter should live through this, and he will. Team Dignitas now looking up as Sanguine go towards the right side, likely to push the tower.
Most likely going to be looking to push that tower, or they could potentially look to just buy some items based off of that fight, and then look to re-engage through that Portal Demon. But at the same time, MikeTheMagikarp also still has his ultimate available, which means he's probably going to be looking for something now that all those actives have been burned out. I wouldn't be surprised to see Sanguine opt to group up and look for a T1 siege and just catch Zyrhoes potentially, or even Qvo off guard and just go ahead and secure the kill onto them. But it'll most likely be Zyrhoes, because they definitely saw Zyrhoes pop both of his actives there.
Yeah, Zyrhoes will have the Kraken available next time we see these two teams fight. But, you know, and that can be a deterrent. You get Mr. Stefan gets the long-range knock-up, MikeTheMagikarp gets the long-range pull, and then you have a Kraken underneath your whole team. That might be a deterrent to really looking for the Poseidon, however. And
again, that engagement by Team Dignitas is a little bit more sloppy gameplay from them in this game than what we're accustomed to seeing. That engagement where they chose to burn out the Poseidon ultimate to try and secure the Portal Demon, I think they should have expected that Sanguine was going to look to try and leash that off of themselves, and so that was the main reason why the Cupid ultimate was able to go ahead and secure that, because the Kraken damage came through, and Sanguine are just like, hey guys, thanks for the help, but that's a huge ultimate that you don't really want to lose to an objective that you're losing, and then you lose the team fight afterwards because of it.
It's just kind of double dipping right there. Last week, Sanguine were not taken seriously. Let's put it that way, as Axioz just stuck out. Not going to be able to really get away from this one, I doubt. Trixtank going to show up. Oh, but help from DeathPanter might change things. There's a meditation, QvoFred. Oh, but the pull and the ultimate, that's going to secure it. Big freeze coming out, and Trixtank able to clean things up with help from QvoFred. Sanguine, they pulled out a lot of curious strategies that some people weren't a fan of, and they lost tremendously. This time around, they're going up against arguably a harder team, a harder composition, harder individually, and yet they're coming out not just strong, but on top significantly so. We're seeing a 5,000 gold lead. Taka, what's the difference? What happened in the off time?
It's really just their draft. Their draft is so much stronger right now, and they're able to combine everything together. Nika's probably going to fall down here.
Yeah, I missed it.
A little unfortunate, but at the same time, they already secured that T2 tower. There isn't really much that Team Dignitas can look for other than this Gold Fury, but even still, Gold Fury isn't as big of a deal as that T2 tower is, because sure, it'll even up the gold, but at the same time, you don't have as much map pressure to worry about on the dual lane side as you would for Team Dignitas. They have to be cognizant now that, hey, our T2 tower is missing. Our Phoenix could potentially be exposed, whether or not Sanguine looks for the split push. You know, you're not really aware of that, but it's also just the fact that they can have the waves pushed up higher for when they're looking for fights on that Portal Demon or Fire Giant area in the future.
It's also the fact that there's no safe spot post Gold Fury. A lot of times you see that as we talk about the mid lane tower specifically, but the dual lane tower is sort of like the secondary option where you take the Gold Fury, all your stuff is down, so the enemy comes trying to fight you, and you just run to safety of the tower. Well, the tower's not there anymore, so that's going to allow Team Dignitas, or excuse me, that's going to allow Sanguine to potentially punish Dig a little bit more, so not having that map presence via towers. Sanguine looking to take that out in the mid lane this time around. Variety's here to protect it, but just Variety. The rest of the team of Sanguine grouping up here. Dignitas still waiting.
That Vulcan turret is really starting to whack for some serious damage, too, at this point in the time. Mr. Stefan's just been quietly farming away in the backside. He's got 50 stacks on that Doom Orb, and he is a threat right now with that.
Absolutely. I mean, Vulcan at this point in the game, earlier on it's a much different story, but Vulcan at this point in the game winds up being a ranged Tabua, in my opinion. You have that backfire, which hits just as hard as Water Cannon on just as small of a cooldown, except it's ranged, so that makes it even better, right? He just becomes very, very, very scary. Mr. Stefan on this Vulcan.
It's incredible to note, though, that even with Mr. Stefan farming pretty efficiently, Sanguine had been 2 to 3 4K gold ahead of Team Dignitas his entire time, but Zyrhoes is actually 2 levels ahead of Mr. Stefan.
And where do you reckon that comes from?
That's just efficient farming all the way around. That means that he's probably been picking up 1 or 2 more waves extra to himself, but at the same time, he's also had less to worry about in that mid lane. He's been playing a lot more passive, and he's just rotating off cooldown around the buffs to the oracles wherever possible. If there's farm available, Zyrhoes is going to it immediately.
Right now, MikeTheMagikarp gets his beads chased out, jumps away. There's an ult from Nika to sort of save him at the moment, but Arkkyl going to take to the sky. Zyrhoes takes him out with the water, and there it is, landing on the ground. Finally, Variety looking for some help on to Mr. Stefan. Beads chased out. There's control. Beautiful whirlpool. Arkyl's going to follow up. Team Dignitas looking to take the lead right now. It's still tie game. Sanguine technically in the lead. Axioz gets controlled, gets dashed on. QvoFred picks up another kill for himself. That's 3-0-3. For the jungler on the side of Team Dignitas. They pick up their first team fight, what seems to be their first full team fight victory of the game, and head towards the Portal Demon.
Everything that could have worked out perfectly for Team Dignitas there did. Variety's walls on point, cutting off MikeTheMagikarp first of all on that Awilix. No escape into the freeze, just gets picked up super easily. That's the first casualty, and because of that, it's just a chain of disaster for Sanguine. If one goes down, Sanguine's comp is so heavily team-oriented that they need every single part of that for it to function properly. And when one member is down, this is what happens. Fire Giant comes through, you lose the team fight pretty significantly at that. Everybody on the side of Dignitas was full health even, and now they're just going to be free to go and siege up these towers.
For 23 minutes, Sanguine led this game, honestly. For 23 minutes, not just like on the charts, but they had all of the intangible stuff that doesn't wind up on the scoreboard. They had the momentum, they had the push. MikeTheMagikarp, they had the success, and it was working out in their favor. Team Dignitas, however, just hanging on by a thread. That Gold Fury put them within 2,000 gold, and then the follow-up comes up here. Dig now leading. You can see here almost 3,000 gold in the way of Team Dignitas. Sanguine can still definitely fight into this, and I think that's very important. It's up to them, however. We've seen them get frustrated in the past in much more dire circumstances. I really hope Sanguine can keep their heads here because this has been a great game for them, and their roster, both as a team and individually. And I really hope that even if this one goes to Dig, that it stays close.
Whether or not Sanguine end up falling to Dignitas in this game, I think it'll be a really good learning point for the team overall, like you were mentioning, just for them to really learn how to play with discipline, learn how to play from behind, learn when to recognize what fights to take up and when to try and disengage from them. But most importantly, just how to play as a unit without getting frustrated with each other.
That's the key. I mean, right there, I think you could easily point fingers at certain players in that engage that went wrong for Sanguine. And I didn't do it on purpose. I hope Sanguine doesn't do it as well. I think that was a situation where Team Dignitas are just going to, push forward. Arkkyl certainly going to push forward here. Beautiful split push coming out from the Apollo. Standard play. Sanguine should be aggressive here, taking the 5-on-4. That's what they go for. There's a big stun. The pull under the tower for the Hunter, for the support. Trixtank goes down. Now, still a 5-on-4 as Nika gets the kill on the support. Love the play. That's exactly when you have to be aggressive. Variety turns around for the freeze, follows up with the Whirlpool out of the mid lane. We've seen that combo time and time again. Mike gets caught out. Nika gets a kill. QvoFred gets one. QvoFred gets two, but Axioz answers back. Nice back and forth. It's a 3-on-2, and there's the 3 for 3. There's the 4 for 3. Mr. Stefan by himself. Team Dignitas winning that team fight hand over fist. Thanks to the Serqet.
That's all that they needed to, because now we're just going to see Arkkyl go ahead. He's just going to take it. I mean, you've got Poseidon and Apollo.
No!
That's all you really need. DeathPanter's not up for another 14 seconds. I don't think they can end. There's no way that they're going to look for the end here.
Okay.
But it's at least going to be 2 Phoenixes, I would say.
I thought that's what you were saying. I thought they were going to go.
No, it's too soon. All right, looks like they're not even going for the second Phoenix.
So if Zyrhoes had a Kraken, could they win there?
If Zyrhoes had a Kraken, it's still too risky. I think it would still be just a little bit too risky, because DeathPanter could have, if anything, CC'd them and stunned them and silenced them enough time to buy for MikeTheMagikarp to respawn, and then they both would have died indefinitely. So that was the smarter and safer play to make. But if they had gone for the end, it would have been pretty cheeky.
That would have been... I would have liked to see it, but I think we would have had to see a Frenzy come out.
Maybe if there was a Frenzy online, yeah. That's where it really comes through.
Whoa, a red pot. What is that? Arkkyl buys a red pot. I don't know if he sold it or used it, but he quickly buys a blink.
Most likely went ahead and used that, picked up the blink afterwards, because what's more fun than an Apollo with Blink at this point in the game?
I don't know, walking on hot coals. Team Dignitas here takes the lead back, leading by about 10,000 gold, despite being 1 kill short of their opposition. A little bit shy of the half-hour mark. And Team Dignitas, this has been a war of attrition, really, on both sides. Sanguine have been able to find some of the correct fights. I really liked the aggression coming out when they saw the split push Apollo. Almost as soon as I said, this is where they need to get aggressive, they got aggressive. But it's almost, it's growing pains. This is a lower tiered team than Team Dignitas. And you're seeing, I like the plays that I'm seeing out of Mike, and the bad plays are in the same, I don't know, style. Like he's being over aggressive when he's being aggressive to a fault, but I like that a lot better than what we've seen so far.
Oh, it's infinitely better than what we've seen out of him in previous sets even. And on top of that, I personally really enjoy seeing a team like Sanguine go ahead and go even though it's a 10K, 11K goalie at this point in time for Team Dignitas that they've had pretty comfortably for the past few minutes. At the same time, this is Sanguine, a team that people have just kind of been overlooking this entire season so far. Going almost 30 minutes now with what's regarded as a powerhouse EU team.
Absolutely. And, listen, not for nothing. Axioz has put on a tremendous performance. It hasn't been, star spotlight, but I think he's impacted the game just as much, if not more, than Dark Dodo has in the past couple of weeks. MikeTheMagikarp obviously has stepped it up. Mr. Stefan has kind of just been Mr. Stefan this whole time. I really think that he's one of the better mid laners around, at least on the lower seeded teams. DeathPanter and Nika, it feels like everybody on this Sanguine roster has really stepped it up for this game. Sometimes it's the opposition. Do you think that Sanguine sort of get in their heads, Dignitas is better, so we got to try harder?
It definitely comes down to a fact where you play at the level that you're up against. We see both the frenzies getting popped and immediately DeathPanter jumping in there trying to get involved, but the Vulcan ultimate only going to hit on variety.
And it's just going to tickle him as he's very tanky on that character. Bought out some help from the Stone of Gaia. Axioz not so tanky, however. Arkkyl gets the kill. There's the Kraken hitting at least one. DeathPanter goes down, and here's the follow-up. Great wall coming out for variety. Looking for the damage on Nika. Can't find it, but Zyrhoes slows everyone down, slows Nika down to death. Mr. Stefan finds safety in the fountain, and the rest of the team with the mid Phoenix down, the right Phoenix down as well. The Titan is going to go fall down as well. 17-14. Team Dignitas take the victory, but it was a well-fought victory. Hard-earned. Sanguine fall down, but put on a fantastic fight.
Mr. Stefan, the only one to not fall down at the very end there. Probably really happy, too, that he escaped with his life. But either way, like we said, I think that was still phenomenal improvements from what we've seen out of Sanguine so far. Going 30 minutes against Team Dignitas, that's just definite improvement all around. I hope it keeps going.
Absolutely. I mean, just to play out of the jungle by itself was leaps and bounds above what it used to be. And, you know, even the substitute solo laner comes together. Love what we saw. Good synergy. Game number 2. Hope to see the same. Sanguine.